when I started talking about Sam, it hits a little bit different of a nerve. And I want to start by saying that one of the songs on my album is called Sam, and it is a song to him. I've got some some heavy hitters involved with that song that I'm really, really excited to talk about, which I can't quite say who's also a part of that song yet. Right. But, me and Sam were very close. We hosted a radio show together, and, he was not only my best friend, my hero, my mentor, he's like my Superman. And so, it was a scenario where, he and I had been working on, because I've got a bit of a film background. And to me, he is such an amazing human being because he didn't know how awesome he was. And he was so humble. And so we were working on his documentary for about 10 years. And then, of course, he passed away. And I'm honored to say that at his funeral, all the pallbearers were people in the music industry, and then myself, I was the only guy that was from racing that was one of the pallbearers, and it was the most, I was so honored to be able to carry my hero, and lay that man to rest. And so we were working diligently on his documentary. You mentioned Scott Borchetta. We know he's going to be involved with it. And so we're pretty excited really, the toughest part of this whole documentary on the great Sam Bass is everybody knew Sam and everybody wants to be a part of his documentary. It's just when you got heavy hitters like that, it's hard to get them, pinned down to get the interviews. I mean, we met with Travis Tritt. It's been some months ago, but from the time that he agreed to be a part of the documentary, it took us 6 months to get it scheduled. So wow. It's one of those things that I'm honored to be doing this project on the life of Sam Bass. I'm honored that my music's going to be involved with it as is others. But this is, man, I tell you what, it would be easier to walk away from hitting the wall at Daytona than it would be to do this project. Because it is not easy. It is not easy for sure.
Man, what an honor that is, Chris. I think about Sam Bass, and two people come to mind. When I was obviously before I made it to NASCAR, I would go to a lot of NASCAR races and sneak in the garage. And obviously I idolized Sam Bass as well, just because on everything. Anything that had to do with racing. If you went to a race shop, you went to somebody's house that had a cool man cave, they had Sam Bass paintings everywhere, and
right.
And but one of the things I remember most about Sam is Earnhardt and Sam Bass were close, they were tight. I saw them together a lot, and also. I knew Jeff Gordon was really close with Sam Bass, and it seemed to me like after we lost the great Dale Earnhardt, it seemed like that Sam Bass and Jeff Gordon got even closer. I didn't know Sam that well. I knew him and met him and got closer to him as the years clicked off. But and to hear you talk about him, and that's one of the things I remember most about him. What a great person he was. He was just phenomenal. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I don't think he knew how awesome he was. And
there's a whole lot more to Sam Bass than just Kyle Busch smashing his
guitar. No doubt about it, man. No doubt.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you this. There was so many times, I'd go, because he worked 24/7. He sat on his deathbed probably 7 times since I knew him, and every one of them times, he's in the hospital working on some art project, and I'm like, Sam, put all that stuff down, pick up your guitar, let's go play in some venues, and I tell you, the human beings, you know, in life, there's only a handful of human beings that you truly meet and you're like, this person's special, you know, very few people. And he was one of them for me, he was. And, you know, the guy just never met a stranger. He was always busy, but always had time for everybody. And it was, man, you know, just honored to know the guy. Anybody who's ever met him, you know, has definitely met a man who had no idea how cool he was, for sure.
Hey, race fans, if you enjoyed this clip with Chris Lafferty, check out the full episode on YouTube or all podcast platforms.